The emperor has fallen. The Ming dynasty is in its death throes and chaos consumes China. The pirate Bai Wuchang awakens injured in the region of Shu without her memories. A mysterious affliction known as the feathering ravages Shu, the population succumbing to madness and mutation that throws the already unstable region into a fathomless descent towards hell. Wuchang is herself plagued by the feathering, but it's both a disease and a source of power. Blessed by this mystical curse, Wuchang must navigate the war-torn country, aid survivors, and confront monsters to uncover the truth of the feathering and end it before it claims her. The fate of all China hangs in the balance. This is the complete story of Wuchang Fallen Feathers. Wuchang Fallen Feathers is a work of fiction, a dark fantasy rendition of China many centuries ago. But much of its inspiration and foundational lore emerges from real-world history. The game takes place during the collapse of the Ming dynasty, an imperial dynasty that ruled much of China for nearly 3 centuries. The final decades of Ming rule were bloody and lawless. They faced invasion from the Manchus and future Qing dynasty to the north, suffered several internal revolts and rebellions, and were carved by many opportunistic pretenders to the throne. Zhu Yujian, the Chongzhen emperor, was the last of the Ming, who killed his own family before committing suicide in the moments his capital, Beijing, was taken by rebels. It's this atmosphere of disorder and tumult that's replicated in Fallen Feathers. Vultures circle to pick the carcass of empire. Scavengers, bandits, and warlords take what they will by force and carve out their own petty kingdoms, while some wish to restore the dynasty. The setting is the Kingdom of Shu, a land of southwest China now part of Sichuan region. Though Wuchang unfolds in the 17th century, much of the lore and world building arise from the ancient Kingdom of Shu and its neighboring tribal confederation of Bo people, going back as far as the 10th century BC. The mytho-history of Shu tells of legendary founder kings, including Kang Kong, whose bulging eyes are represented in this statue, and which makes an appearance in-game. Many other kings are associated with birds, such as Yufu the cormorant and Duyu the cuckoo, and bird worship seems to be a large part of Shu and Bo people culture. The golden sunbird artifact, perhaps integral in worship, is mirrored in the soulbird seals found in Fallen Feathers. In fact, the name of the game, the feathering disease, and the avian Bo people all take inspiration from myth in Shu antiquity. Duyu is notable for abdicating the throne in the 600s BC in favor of Bie Ling. Some legends claim Bie Ling was the wise counselor to Duyu, who earned kingship for his great service. Others report that Duyu had an affair with Bie Ling's wife, and that he usurped the throne through force. The character Duryol, a reference to Duyu, and his relationship with the Bie Ling are explored in the game. One last homage to the Bo people appears in the hanging coffins ubiquitous throughout Fallen Feathers, a unique practice of a long-extinct culture that in-game is connected to the transcendence of Bo into avians. Finally, Wuchang Fallen Feathers is inspired by the cosmology and philosophy of Chinese Buddhism, Taoism or Taoism, and folk religion. There exists a pantheon of many deities, a spiritual realm that manifests in helpful and malignant creatures, ancestor worship, and the cyclical nature of existence. Samsara, the Buddhist beginningless wheel of birth, life, and death, is an infinite chain of cause and effect that through enlightenment and purification one seeks to escape. The concepts of causality and multiple planes of existence shape the Wuchang narrative, as do Taoist views on alchemy. Taoist alchemists believed the body was a microcosm of the universe and wished to temper their bodies through elixirs and pills to align themselves with the universal Tao and achieve longevity or even immortality. Cinnabar, also called red mercury, was a most prized substance as it possessed the essence of longevity. This substance and the Taoist pursuit of elixirs factors heavily into Wuchang's storylines. Impermanence, illusion, immortality, and the oneness of the universe color the game's tone and are inspired by such practices. The mighty reigns above all, formless and omnipresent. His followers perceive him as an unparalleled force. He is the gate of time and space, the all-knowing God, and the embodiment of cosmic unity. Our tale begins in the age of myth, millennia before the current day, where ancient tribes settled Shu's fertile valleys. The origins of such cultures are woven with legend, but one group asserted its dominance: the Bo people. The oldest pieces of lore tell how the Bo people revered the god of Shu, called also the mighty and the primordial deity, and from such reverence it blessed them with peace and stability. For generations, the Bo strengthened their relationship with the primordial deity through worship and understanding, and sought to divine its purpose for them. A religion developed that valued longevity, attempted to embrace divinity, and even transcend the mortal state. This desire manifested in a fascination with birds whose wing-borne bodies could transport them to the heavens. Such veneration is heard in the Call of the Wild spell. Legends say that the souls of these feathered creatures answer the summons of the primordial deity. It was through this very spell that the primordial deity spread his mandate across the world, with all feathered souls responding to his call. Faith and contemplation earned the Bo their god's favor. The first avians were born.
They say that their dead are placed in hanging coffins, where apparently they grow wings and take flight when the time is right. Rumor has it they fly toward nearby forests. Over time, stories of the great feathered one began to surface.
The avians were proof that the primordial deity watched over Shu. They were those Bo people who had unlocked the secrets of transcendence, immortal rebirth after mortal death. How they achieved this remains a mystery, but the ascendance of some Bo people into avians coincides with the arrival of a celestial artifact that greatly influences events throughout history. This artifact was a purported gift from the mighty, and it could be that its radiating magic powered their transformation. What can't be denied is how this artifact fueled their continued rise, but led also to ancient Shu's tragic collapse. A golden age elevated the kingdom to the limits of what was possible. The Bo people chiseled a great capital from stone that overflowed with treasure and spread their influence across the land. A line of kings of Bo blood and avian stock ruled over both the mortal and the transcendent of ancient Shu from their capital. With the celestial artifact, the avians warped reality, bent time and space, and commanded magic. They erected a great altar within the Forbidden Lands, a sort of pocket dimension denied to most Bo people, where they performed rites to commune with the primordial deity, beseeching their god when questions of great concern were asked. We hear in the lore of many spells and items that hint at the supreme power the avians once commanded. The plume vortex is but a sliver of their ancient ability, and the echo of the Bo sorcerer, which crystallizes the very air into ice shards, tells us the avians had the power to control all things during a great golden age, creating clouds, rain, and weather at a whim. To avians of today, it is a memory. Alongside birds, the Bo saw as holy a sort of plant-like organism called a sea lily. To them, the lily represented the cycle of life and death, and the connected harmony of the universe. The bronze all tree in the ancient capital is a replica of the colossal lily tree. In ancient times, avians performed blood rituals before the lily tree, seeking the power to bring unity to all things. The Bo spirit grew restless. Though many transcended to avian, they wanted more. They desired to command space and time like their deity and become gods themselves. At their altar in the Forbidden Lands, with the celestial artifact, the avians divined heaven's secrets and created a strange substance with limitless mystical potential, called red mercury.
The avians learned the secrets of the heavens and used the altar to craft red mercury, aiming to bend fate itself and reach godhood. A pity that such power, defying the natural order, was never meant to last.
This miracle compound enhanced physical prowess, enforced the soul, greatly increased vitality, and ensured the immortality of all who imbibed it. But Red Mercury subverted the cosmic order and defied natural law. Red Mercury's power came at a steep cost, paid in two parts. The first came from those who wielded it. Red Mercury was a double-edged sword, a trial by fire. The process of transcendence and immortal purification forced one to confront their inner demons on the precipice of insanity. Those possessed of spiritual resolve emerged from the ordeal blessed by the primordial deity. Those who didn't were racked by madness and gross transformation. They became not the graceful avians, but plumed monstrosities. These unfortunate beaux were the first afflicted by the mystical disease later known as the feathering. Based on how avians aggressively strike at feathered creatures during the game, we can assume the beaux were just as ruthless in excising such failed individuals as the people of Shu are in the current day. The second was paid by the avians' unfortunate mortal flock. The sea lily and red mercury became entwined during the avians' rituals. Crystallized mercury was the plant's noble fruit. The sea lily, however, required nourishment not from water, but from human blood. Legends say that the blood of the ancient beaux nourished sea lilies, granting strength at a steep price. This excerpt from the beaux blood item tells of how the avians exploited beaux people to feed mystic rites. Many were fooled, the completeness of their sacrifice etched on this stone inscription from the ancient beaux capital that reads, "My blood I offer, that divine power may flow, a relic I wield to strike down my foe. My soul I give to shield all I cherish. Myself I sacrifice, so the avians won't perish." Body, mind, soul, all were taken by the avians to cultivate red mercury. Legends claim that living sacrifices were a common occurrence in ancient Shu, and that one of their secret ritual sites can be found beneath the Shu sanctum. It's uncertain whether this was willing or forced sacrifice, but it doesn't take a great leap to intuit that many beaux people hoped this would lead them to salvation through immortal rebirth. The beaux were suddenly threatened by an outside force known only as the Bieling. Precious little of the Bieling remains, their only mention in the lore coming from the plumed gray sword. This ancient blade, infused with the power of Bieling, was taken from the Forbidden Lands. The Bieling may have been a rival tribe of transcendent individuals with power enough to equal the beaux. Their conflict erupted in the Avian Wars, which consumed ancient Shu. During the Avian Wars, the primordial deity gifted lustrous feathers to chosen warriors, turning them into an almost invincible force. Ennobled by his god, one figure rose to prominence during the Avian Wars, Duriel, the king of ancient Shu. Duriel, like most elite beaux, was an avian. He and his kin proved indispensable in the conflict. The contaminated crystal tells us about the ancestral shrines dotting Shu and their significance during the battles. These shrines were created by Duriel at key moments during the Avian Wars. In fact, the figure within each shrine is a likeness of Duriel. The king of Shu was vaulted to myth and godhood from his heroism. Duriel's veneration continued through the centuries to the current day. Within the Shu sanctum are statues that depict King Duriel in his many forms. The power of the primordial deity flowed through the king. His pure faith in the god was untarnished by the dangerous allure of red mercury, reflected in the polygonal container spell bestowed to the deity's most faithful. Duriel emerged victorious, and the god king of Shu imprisoned the Bieling through arcane ritual.
Sealing Bieling is no simple task. Even the heavens are impermanent, and thus even the divine powers are fading.
Though the beaux people claimed victory, the outcome of the Avian Wars was disastrous. Either having used the celestial artifact to seal the Bieling, or as a weapon against them, the object overloaded and was shattered into 5 fragments. But most legends speak of only 4. They are the ancient chisel, the aurum, vermilion, jade, and cyan chisels. The shards dispersed across Shu but still echoed with cosmic power. They disappeared from time but will factor significantly in Wuchang's story.
The shards were tools they used for their rituals, the keys to warping reality. After my battle with the Bieling, the source of their power shattered and scattered across the land, remaining hidden for centuries.
With their artifact destroyed, the Avians lost much of their power and relied increasingly on human sacrifice to produce red mercury and wield its maddening yet transcendent potential. It's perhaps in the aftermath of the Avian Wars that the Beau Magus rose to power and her twisted ways came to light. The Magus was a religious demagogue who believed herself the true spiritual voice of the primordial deity. She dedicated herself to fulfilling the will of Shu's primordial deity, believing that good and evil reside within the hearts of individuals. She was seduced by red mercury's allure. She believed that through it, her people could reclaim the power over space and time, lost in the chisels, and ascend to godhood. Mercury corrupted her soul, however. The unnatural substance was rebellion against the natural order, but the Magus was blinded by desire. She likewise led her followers astray, as the lore of the divine blessing recounts. However, while the woman who taught this ritual claimed to be the Magus, she had secretly altered the sacred teachings for her own ends. Those ends were to elevate the Avians to the pantheon of heaven, then cleanse the world of mortal suffering, what she believed to be a blight, through blood and death. As more followers gathered to her cause, the Magus formed a cohort of elite honor guards and assassins. The strongest of the Beau were chosen as guardians of the Magus. So long as the Magus stood as the voice of the god of Shu, they cared not whether she was heir or heretic. We get a glimpse of the complete devotion many held for the Magus in the Avian hunter's armor. Avian hunters were fierce warriors dedicated to protecting the Beau Magus, willing to sacrifice their lives to fulfill her wishes. Duriel was yet king of Shu, not the Magus, and her increasing influence worried him. He feared not just the Magus, but what she represented: red mercury, bloodletting, deceit, and the unnatural. Duriel foresaw that the Beau Magus and the ways of the Avian would lead to their own undoing. He departed the ancient capital in search of a way to save them from impending calamity. For millennia, generations of divine attendants have been entrusted with guarding this area, awaiting his return, or that of a destined one. Rather than confront the Magus, Duriel was filled with melancholy and disappointment in his people that they were seduced by empty promise. The god king of Shu renounced his throne, abdicated, and slipped quietly out of history, worshipped only by descendants of his followers. With her greatest opponent gone, the Beau Magus and Avians dominated much of the ancient Shu kingdom. Though she rebelled and took control of her kin, her faith in the god of Shu remained as unwavering as stone. Mercury flowed as freely as the blood of human sacrifice. The sea lily, once a pristine symbol of natural life, was stained red and twisted into artificial revival. The plant-like structure courses with mystic power, and when mature, seems to raise the dead, which we see both in the shambling skeletons of ancient Shu, but also with the undead around Cloudspire. But the Magus' ascendancy was short-lived.
Here lies the ancient Shu capital, entombed forever after the great war of the Avians and Bieling.
When the Avians fell, those devoted to their homeland lingered. Their bodies were taken, their souls anchored. Towering bones now stand guard over the capital. This was once the heart of ancient Shu, treacherous and unforgiving. Shortly after the Avian Wars ended, the Beau capital was swallowed by Earth and became the Avians' tomb, a silent necropolis where their immortal spirits wallow in chain. There were, however, some few Avians that managed to survive, a splinter faction that renounced the Magus and followed instead the guidance of the Beau sorcerer. They kept both their human and Avian traditions alive as best they could, but fallen from the golden age of splendor and exploitation, the Beau found nothing but hostile human communities. The next war broke out 1,000 years before the current day and ravaged much of the land. It holds a central place in Shu's historical myth.
The White General. instilling fear in one and all with his mere presence. With his heroic stature and in the wake of his mighty steed, peace fell once more. But alas, how could this once great hero of the ages be forever lost to the annals of history? And yet, his indefatigable spirit prowls as before the vast lands of Shu.
This larger-than-life character is inspired by the real-world legend of Zhao Yun, a general whose late Han Dynasty and Three Kingdoms period deeds were immortalized in the romance of the Three Kingdoms. The white General Zhao Yun led a united human army against the avian bow. Thousands perished, the cost was great, but the general's cunning and human resolve pushed the avians ever backward. Legend has it that these warriors followed their general into battle in this very region. The scars of war remain upon the armor, never fading, just like their undying loyalty. A final battle unfolded on the steep peaks of Mount Zhenwu, its narrow paths forcing gruesome close combat.
This here is an old battleground, grave to many a warrior. That monster reanimated them in an attempt to thwart me.
The Tigrelese pendant preserves the legend of this battle, likely claimed from the corpse of a soldier of old. A fierce battle took place here some 1,000 years ago, and legend claims the battle was against non-human beings. The outcome was decisive and crushing. The avian bow were defeated, and most were slaughtered. The sorcerer and those who remained fled into the dense jungle outside Zhenwu for safety. But the peace pendant, which tells that avians inhabited the forest a millennia ago, would suggest that some form of settlement was reached between the avians and the white general. But the legacy of Bow's evil lived on. Warnings are etched deep inside the forest to keep in collective human memory the danger of avians. They read, "The bird creatures that haunt these woods, ascended bow people they are. Guided by the enlightened, they erected this altar. Human sacrifices nourish their twisted deities." The crane pendant, once Duriel's, is found near this shrine and might suggest the old god of Shu etched these words and continues to protect people from the shadows. For their part, the surviving avians harbor nothing but hostility and hatred towards humans, crafting treetop settlements and hunting humans for sustenance. Perhaps as part of the peace settlement, the white general took from the avians the cyan ancient chisel that had recently been found. Its power would haunt and consume him in the centuries to come. This period of history ends with the avians reduced to a small band, the capital of Shu entombed, the spirits of the bow magus and her devoted worshippers sealed within. The 4 or 5 chisel fragments have spread, and as the aurum feather, dropped by gold-winged birds found throughout Shu reads, following the primordial deity's fall, the essence of an avian scattered and transformed into Goldwing. Goldwing roamed the skies, letting out mournful wails. The people of the land took this as proof that the primordial deity still graced the lands. For many centuries, Shu fades into obscurity as other regions host China's long line of dynasties, wars, rebellions, and conquests. It's not until the founding of the Ming dynasty, roughly 250 to 300 years before the present day, that descendants of ancient Shu return to their ancestral homeland. Guided by memories of their forebears, they erect the village of Worship's Rise, which radiates from the central temple of Shu's sanctum. The sanctum itself is built atop the bones of Bo ritual grounds, where both Duriel and the primordial deity were honored.
Legend has it that the Shu sanctum was rebuilt by the descendants of ancient Shu at the dawn of this dynasty, to honor their ancestor, Duriel. Since its completion, many Shu descendants have settled nearby.
A Taoist community settles near the old Zhenwu battlefield, establishing Zhenwu Temple, where many monks and acolytes learn the secrets of the celestial masters, catalog knowledge of ancient days, and train as itinerant demon hunters or formulate medicinal elixirs. The neighboring cloud spire forms itself as a center of commerce, metallurgy, and administration. The legends of bird-like transcendence, of immortality, and ancient celestial artifacts stir once more as Shu begins to uncover its past. Myths draw eyes from across the empire, and powerful forces converge once more in the land. The Ming Chongzhen Emperor Zhu Yujian himself represents an interested party. On an inscription near the Tang Emperor Palace, we hear that in the second and third year of his reign, the emperor sought knowledge on immortality. Plumbing through old accounts, Yujian's agents likely learned of the avian chisels and begin their search. But such meddling also unsettles the evil forces that surround these objects, and tales of demonic sightings grow more common. The Chongzhen Emperor sends one of his most trusted imperial guards to administer worship's rise as governor general. Bai Tingzhao settles on an island estate and alongside his wife has two daughters, Bai Ziyun and Bai Yu. Ziyun's childhood as eldest daughter of the governor general is leisure, until tragedy visits the household. Governor Bai's wife, who is with child and expecting a son, falls gravely ill. The governor looks to Zhenwu Temple and its Taoist elixirs to heal his wife and save his unborn child. The Qilin pendant reveals that Bai visited the Zhenwu Temple twice in an attempt to alter fate itself. He also tasked artisans with fashioning this pendant to bless his son with longevity and ward off misfortune. The governor's first visit was to acquire elixirs to restore his wife's constitution. No prayer, no tokens or medicines could save his wife, and though the son is born as Bai Kru, the mother dies in childbirth. The lore of the Zhenwu Temple elixir paints a frank picture. Concerned for her mother's health, Bai Yu requested this elixir from their leader to strengthen her mother, both body and mind. Her father, however, thought of the unborn boy, ignoring his wife's plight as she grew weaker with each passing day. And this isn't the extent of misery. In many items throughout the lore, we hear that Bai Kru is a frail and sickly child. It isn't much longer until the son follows his mother, and Bai Kru passes. Both Ziyun and Yu lament their family's misfortune, but Bai Tingzhao is utterly broken. The future of his family dies with his only son, and the general will do anything to change destiny. He learns of two artifacts stored within Zhenwu Temple of immeasurable power that might bring Bai Kru back from the beyond. They are two of the four chisels, though how they came into Zhenwu's possession is left to speculation. But as this document notes, shortly into the 11th year of Chongzhen's reign, thieves break in and steal one of the chisels. It goes on to mention a horrid night in which a botched ritual results in the disappearance of the Bai family and destruction of the mansion. General Bai, alongside a Taoist priest, attempt to use the stolen chisel, which commands the power of time, the essence of resurrection, to revive Bai Kru. The chisels are incomplete, fractured, their power isn't pure but corrupt and consuming. The toddler transforms into a monstrosity, an abomination that threatens the rest of the Bai family. The general gives his daughters the chisel and commands them to flee before confronting the beast that was his son. This we can read in the letter he's left. Bai Kru overwhelms his father and kills the governor general. The orphaned Bai siblings Ziyun and Yu leave Shu, making for the southern archipelago. The collapse of the Bai family is a presage to the fall of the Ming dynasty. No exact time frame is given, but Ming China is threatened by the invading Qing dynasty from the north, faces several internal rebellions, and as the item description of the halberd tells us, pirates from the south also throw in their lot to carve up the failing empire. The Ming dynasty is destroyed with the death of Zhu Yujian. The Ming emperor hanged himself after the fall of his nation, yet the remaining members of court wished for his and the nation's revival. The region of Shu is a microcosm of the tumult that rages across China. Lawlessness reigns. Brigands burn and pillage. Many factions form or shift allegiances to found rival empires, while others wished to restore the Ming legacy. Near Worship's Rise, a splintered dynasty called the Tang declare themselves emperors of Shu and reside in the fortress palace. The eagle pendant states, many such trinkets from the Ming imperial court later found their way into the Tang emperor's palace. And from documents left in his libraries, we learn that like Zhu Yujian, the Tang emperor is also fascinated with immortality and enticed by the legends of Shu's ancient past. He discovers one of the avian chisels. The chisel Wuchang later finds submerged beneath the palatial pool. Liu Cheng'an, a cunning general, fervently loyal to the Ming dynasty, was sent to Cloudspire to govern in the waning days of the Chongzhen emperor's rule. And Cheng'an remains devout even after the emperor's death.
Liu Cheng'an was appointed by the emperor to oversee Cloudspire a few years ago. With the Ming dynasty crumbling, he could have easily carved out his own kingdom. Instead, his loyalty binds him to chase the impossible: resurrection.
He assumes command of Cloudspire from within the fortress of Snowfall Palace, much to the consternation of Huang Yan, the Madam of Snowfall, and the general represents the last bastion of Ming rule in Shu. Cloudspire is notable for its rich deposits of red mercury. None in the current era know the ancient origins of red mercury, but it's unique in the land of Shu and contains mysterious energies capable of strengthening one's body. Once it became known, many a recipe began to spread across the land, yet they all came with a side effect. The user would soon become irascible. The mines of red mercury and its demand skyrocket Cloudspire's value. Chaos soon erupts as the three blights descend upon the land. The first blight comes in the form of Zhang Shanzhong, a warlord who unites and leads the four heavenly kings of rebels. Zhang Shanzhong rapes, pillages, and burns Shu from Zhenwu Temple to Worship's Rise and beyond. His rebel onslaught claims the short-lived Tang Emperor, but fails to overcome Cloudspire. On a tide of blood, Zhang rises to the title of sovereign and declares himself the new emperor. The sovereign rebelled amidst the chaos of the Ming court, but his noble goal of ending the turmoil was lost to the war. But his departure is as swift as his arrival. Soon, the sovereign dies, and without his uniting authority, the four heavenly kings disband. Zhang Shanzong is succeeded by his sons, Liu Wenshu, Ai Nengqi, and Li Dingguo, who wish only to see their father once more, a desire that guides their future actions. The second of three blights descends with the coming of bandits. The Golden Bandits and other groups of brigands find Shu destabilized, vulnerable, and plump with easy treasure. The local militia has been decimated through battle with the rebels. Much of the population is too weak to resist. Often disguised as Buddhist monks or traveling Taoists, these wandering opportunists sweep like locusts and extract Shu's remaining wealth. With the death of the governor-general and the collapse of the empire, no coordinated resistance meets the bandits, and many fall to despair. Such troubling times push the faithful within Shu Sanctum to hopes of religious salvation. The Sanctum's spiritual leaders are two brothers, Lu Bingjiang and Lu Bingchang.
I must tell you something. The Shu Sanctum has more than one priest, you know. Word has it that there are two, Lu Bingzhang and Lu Bingcheng. Twin brothers, believe it or not. The elder brother, Lu Bingcheng, oversees the vault, likely where they brew their secret elixirs.
While plumbing ancestral knowledge for solutions to their current woes, the brothers uncover forbidden texts that speak of the ancient Shu and the winged power of the Bo people. Lu Bingjiang is a tragic figure whose misguided actions plunge Shu into even worse circumstances. As a priest of the Shu Sanctum, Lu Bingjiang dedicated his life to seeking the primordial deity's power. Yet in the end, he was lured by the allure of red mercury, becoming feathered and falling into madness. Even as red mercury consumed him, Lu Bingjiang clung to his dream of restoring Shu's former glory. His devotion first drew the Magus' whispers, and in the end, it bound him to the Featherings. Deep beneath the earth, the avians who had slumbered for millennia begin to stir once more. The renewed use of red mercury, the pulsing aura of the chisels, the rekindling of the primordial deity's worship, all draw the bow Magus and loosen her soul from the binding chains that have trapped her. She returns to the surface and exerts her influence, bending many to her will through insidious whispers. Lu Bingjiang, consumed by the powers he sought, cast aside his past duties and beliefs. This negligence allowed the remnants of the ancient Shu people to resurface and unleash the feathering upon the world. The feathering is the third blight and by far the most disastrous for Shu. It's a mystical ailment derived from both the corrupting radiation of red mercury and the influence of bow blood across the land. The feathering can be seen as a symptom of red mercury. It's nature's response to this unnatural pathogen created all those centuries ago. Those afflicted become ill, descend into madness, have their physical bodies transformed, and ultimately die. But death is no solace. Where red mercury is strongest and where mature sea lilies grow, the dead are resurrected as monsters.
A man-eating fiend attacked Worship's Rise 6 moons ago, after which many bore feathers on their bodies. A malady unlike any other, without hope of a cure.
The feathering seems also strongly connected to the 4 chisels of the ancient artifact, which makes sense as it was used by the Avians in their rituals that first produced red mercury. We hear from the Taoist that the Tang Palace was ground zero for the feathering in Worship's Rise, the location of one such chisel.
But according to the townsfolk, this is where the first cases of the feathering emerge. Most curious.
Thousands are consumed by the disease. So many die that Doom Willow Beach, once a clean and reverent place for the dead, becomes a contaminated dumping ground for victims of the feathering. From this pile of corrupted remains emerged the winged abomination Lu Hongliu and magically reanimated corpses. Official Lo led a contingent of Worship's Rise peasants to put down the creatures. They set Doom Willow to the torch, and it's been burning unnaturally for months. But the feathering also represents mystical power.
True power in feathering isn't about possessing it. It's about understanding it.
It's the blessing of the primordial deity made manifest, and those who can quell their inner demons find themselves greatly enhanced by its aura. The strange news coming from Shu, the tales of immortal bird creatures, of ancient objects, and a plumed disease, attracts the attention of Bai Ziyun. After fleeing their family home, she and Bai Yu took up with a group of pirates stationed in the southern archipelago. Like many other dispossessed, the archipelago offered opportunities to build a new life and make a name for oneself. Their companion, He Yu Zai, speaks fondly of them, and they fit in well. Armed with the family sword of House Bai, Cloudfrost's Edge, and her father's embroidered Imperial Guard armor, Ziyun proves a formidable mercenary. In the years since her flight, she's crossed blades with many and ended countless lives, which has earned her the moniker Bai Wuchang, the White Impermanence. This name is reference to the He Bai Wuchang, a pair of fortune deities that escort the souls of the dead to the underworld. They reward the benevolent and punish the wicked. As testament to her martial prowess, Ziyun Bai Wuchang is famed for sending her foes to the underworld. It would seem they were only in the south for a few months within the same year of the Bai Manor collapse, year 11, that further catastrophe struck. From the archipelago notes, we learn that Bai Yu falls in a confrontation against Li Jiao. The circumstances of her death remain a mystery, but guilt haunts Wuchang. The memories throughout the game are recollections of Bai Yu, and we hear the young girl pleading to Wuchang.
Your sins, I've already paid for them.
Wuchang's vengeance is swift. We're told in the halberd of Li Jiao, a weapon earned after Wuchang's return to her family manor, that Li Jiao gained notoriety due to her powerful and deadly weapons. Her whereabouts have remained unknown ever since she was defeated by Wuchang. Obsession consumes Bai Wuchang. She wishes to absolve herself and banish the grief that plagues her. In July, 1 month after the fall of Bai Yu, Wuchang departed for her homeland, seeking a way to bring her sister back from the dead, leaving only a letter in her wake. A message derived from Wuchang. There is hope for Bai Yu's resurrection. Bai Wuchang awakens deep inside the burning cave and suffers acute memory loss from an injury in her travel. She recalls very little of her past and has only the constant pain in her right arm from the feathering. Wuchang is afflicted with this mystical disease. Its hallmark plumage marks her as a threat to those uncontaminated, and so she's attacked by both living and dead. Wuchang must discover the truth of the feathering and its cure before insanity overtakes her. This internal struggle is highlighted in the game's madness mechanic. Death and rebirth fuel the cycle. As she taps into red mercury and the blood of ancient Bo, Wuchang wields ever greater power, but so too does her inner demon assume control. When madness descends, Bai Wuchang must banish the manifested demon or else be consumed entirely. Her demon is a projection of past failures, regret, trauma, and obsession, and assumes a familiar appearance, that of the plain warrioress. This enigmatic character first appears to Wuchang in the realm of dream and gifts her with the Bai family heirloom, Cloudfrost's Edge. And she's found many times across Shu, speaking in puzzles. Alongside her sword, Wuchang still has the dream chisel. This artifact allows her to enter the dream. Its lore tells us that it controls the flow of time itself. With this chisel, Wuchang can revive upon death and cut through space and time to travel throughout the region. It could be too that the chisel staves off the madness of the feathering and allows Wuchang to tap freely into her power. The young warrior learns that she and her companion He Yu Zai were saved from the bank of the river by a Taoist priest named Xuanyangzi, who brought her to the reverent temple to heal.
I came upon you in a brooklet some days past. You lay passed out due to the feathering.
Xuanyangzi has been tending to the afflicted and studying red mercury to understand the cause of the feathering and ostensibly to develop a cure. But he's more than meets the eye. A practitioner of Taoist alchemy, Xuanyangzi seeks the elixir of life, a means to transcend mortality completely and unite with the universe. He believes red mercury is the key and conducts many immoral experiments on his patients. Wuchang interests the Taoist. She is an uncorrupted feathered one and possesses a chisel fragment of the ancient Bo artifact. More on his motives and means later. After uniting with He Yu Zai, Wuchang learns that their plan had always been to save Bai Yu.
Bai Yu, your sister. We came here to find clues.
But with her memory frayed, she can't recall what happened. Also at Reverend Temple is a woman named Yu Xia with her retainer. Though she travels modestly, Yu Xia is protected by an imperial guard and is in fact the queen consort of the late Chongzhen emperor. Yu Xia and her close companion, Commander Hong Lan of the Imperial Guard, will restore the fallen Ming dynasty at any cost. When word reached the palace of Shu's legends surrounding immortality, Yu Xia fled the old capital with her husband's coffin and came alongside Hong Lan and the Imperial Guard to worship's rise. Duty, love, and loyalty drive them both, and Yu Xia orders her commander to ruthlessly gather information on the resurrection ritual and acquire the chisel artifacts. To this end, Ming troops are sent to the Shu sanctum. They protect it against bandits and feathered horrors while they plunder ancient scrolls. One of the twin priests, Lu Bingchang, has already perished in the crypts beneath the sanctum, but from his brother Lu Bingzhang, they learn one of the chisels is in the Tang Palace. Having learned the secret of resurrection, the Imperial Guards imprisoned Lu Bingzhang at the Shu Sanctum. They chain the poor man on the 3rd floor, and overcome by bulbous growths, he transforms into a monster. Wuchang ends his misery, kills Dutenga, the cannibalistic leader of the bandits holed up in Lightsen Temple, and also confronts the feathered abomination at the center of worship's rise. Lu Honglu is a product of unnatural magic, the stillborn child of Doomwillow's undertaker, whose wife also passed in childbirth. Lu Honglu was resurrected.
Lu Honglu has her father to thank for what she's become. Her father, back when he was the coroner, raised her on the flesh and bones of the dead. No wonder she turned into such a creature.
She grew at an unnatural rate, feasted on human remains, and ultimately mutated into the creature that ravaged Doomwillow and Worship's Rise. Wuchang finds secret access to Doomwillow through the bowels of Shu Sanctum, an area once used by Lu Bingchang for alchemical studies that echoes with spirits of the ancient past. In fact, the chamber in which the gargantuan centipede demon resides was an important ritual site for the Bo people and their avian overlords. Ley lines of energy still pulse here. In the ashen, defiled heap of Doomwillow, Wuchang crosses paths with 2 characters of legend. The first, the white-robed elder, had before been at the Shu Sanctum. He speaks to Wuchang of madness and inner demons, and talks with the sagacious wisdom of someone who's witnessed much. He warns Wuchang against falling to her inner demon, and threatens her destruction should that happen.
I shall send you to the next life, should the power overwhelm you.
The elder pursues feathered individuals with fiery hatred. The second, the red-clad lady, performs an eerie incantation and draws upon red energies from the earth to fuel powerful magic. She speaks of the primordial deity and of his blessings, how the feathering cleanses the land of mortal suffering. This woman is none other than the Bo Magus, who has for centuries been trapped in the catacombs of ancient Shu. Drawn from the depths of the earth, she wishes to reclaim her lost power and restore the avians to their former glory. Wuchang confronts a patrol of Ming troops in the Tang Emperor's palace. The palace grounds have been ransacked first by the sovereign and second by the bandits, but Commander Hong Lan is convinced a chisel remains. The Tang Emperor, besides pursuing immortality, fancied mechanical contraptions and ingenious designs. Placing a Buddha statue in its slot opens a sluiceway which drains the central pond and reveals one of the 4 chisels embedded in stone. But as Wuchang goes to retrieve it, she's confronted by the commander and must face this ruthless opponent in combat. Hong Lan trained for many years as an imperial guard. Her skill with the sword is unequaled, and she showers Wuchang in a storm of slashes and kicks. The commander proves too much, but spares the woman who carries Cloudfrost's edge, a symbol of General Bai's honor and loyalty to the emperor. As Wuchang convalesces, Hong Lan takes the chisel swiftly to Cloudspire to unite with the Ming forces under General Liu Chang'an. We hear of the alliance between the palace guard and the Ming general in the lore description of Ming General's hat. Duke Liu and Hong Lan shared a singular ambition. This common cause fueled the alliance between the Ming forces and the Imperial Guards. Chang'an remains devoted to the memory of Emperor Zhu Yujian even after his passing, and it seems he agrees with Yu Jia's plan for resurrection. Such a loyal disciple is he that the general carries the soul of the emperor with him in a wooden spirit tablet that rests upon his cloak. Wuchang follows the imperial trail to Cloudspire and the surrounding region of Hill's Watch. Before Liu Chang'an's arrival, this land was ruled by the Master of Snowfall Palace. Many years ago, the master married an ambitious woman, well-versed in dark arts, named Huang Yan. Shortly after the marriage and birth of their son, the Master of Snowfall died under suspicious circumstances. Huang Yan is practiced in insectomancy. Honed through years of meticulous training, this allows her to command the insect swarms as if they were extensions of her own body. Her formidable swarm can strike down enemies or inflict suffering. Huang Yan poisoned her husband for sole stewardship over Snowfall and Cloudspire's treasures. Rich veins of red mercury ore course through the mountains of Snowfall, and extensive mining networks extract this vital resource. In fact, trade of red mercury across Shu gave Snowfall its wealth and position. The cost was steep and shouldered by the poor. In the mines, radiation afflicted them with the feathering, and many succumbed to madness. Wuchang suffers despair buildup as she approaches their aura, which leads to death and the sprouting of sea lilies from the body. More recently, the Madam of Snowfall has aggressively extended her borders. The Dragonling pendant tells us, a treasure that Snowfall Palace acquired during its rapid expansion, which represents the Madam's endless thirst for power. Huang Yan is cunning and despises Liu Cheng'en's garrison within her city. For many months, rebels, led by the sovereign son Ai Nengqi, have invested themselves in a siege of Snowfall. But the bridge remains drawn, and it's an impenetrable fortress. Stalemate weighs as heavy as the winter's snow on both camps, and Huang Yan exploits the situation. Through secret missives, she comes to an agreement with the rebels. The Madam will lower the bridge from inside if Ai Nengqi promises to slaughter only the Ming troops and refrain from pillaging the palace.
The Madam has lowered the bridge, as was promised. Now you're part of the bargain. You must honor it.
Patience, young one. I must first make my report to the General. Rest assured, your rewards will come.
Such a demand requires steep recompense. In a meeting of the generals, a strange fellow appears and tells the sovereign's sons of the ancient chisels and of a ritual in which they might resurrect the dead. The Madam of Snowfall possesses such a chisel. Ai Nengqi demands it as his prize, and the Madam agrees, though her promise is empty. She plans instead to keep it and use its power to aid her son. Wuchang ventures through Hillswatch. The settlements become a ghost town, depopulated of all its women. Bulletins reveal that Huang Yan has demanded every woman of age present herself as a potential bride for the Madam's son. How long Huang Yan has gathered promising candidates is uncertain, but once a woman travels to the palace, she's never seen again. More on their fates in a little bit. Further into Cloudspire and its associated mines, we see the damaging effects red mercury has had on the population. 3 spires of active sea lily emerge from the ground, the magical power of this plant on display as cankerous dead are unceasingly resurrected from the surrounding earth, and only once these growths are set ablaze can they rest once more. The rebels, even after their agreement, remain encamped. They've not yet made a move. Their leader, Ai Nengqi, has recently been wounded, is taken ill, and has retreated to his tent. None have seen him for days.
Sir, the General hasn't left his tent for days. Should I perhaps bring him some food?
The great northern general is a victim of the feathering and has been consumed by madness. We hear his rage at the Madam's treachery and his desire for the chisel in his boss fight dialogue. With Ai Nengqi dispatched, the rebels dispersed, and the beacons lit, Snowfall's bridge lowers. Wuchang must then challenge General Liu Cheng'en. A wise tactician and skilled spearman, the general sees Wuchang as a rebel and must eliminate all threats to his master's return. With both Ai Nengqi and Liu Cheng'en gone, Snowfall once again falls to Huang Yan. A bride has been chosen for the young master, and the Madam furiously begins preparation for her son's wedding day. She congratulates Wuchang and thanks her for her service, but ends with a terrible warning.
Keep in mind that I shall hound you to the very gates of hell if you disrupt my plans.
On the terrace of her palace, we come across the bodies of several imperial guards and a missive between Hong Lan and General Liu. The Madam no doubt set her insects upon the commander's guard. Here too, Wuchang crosses paths with the plain warrioress, who continues her riddles. Snooping into the treasure vaults unleashes Huang Yan's fury. The Madam of Snowfall wishes to preserve the secrets that lie within. Upon her death, we receive scribbles of research notes about the ancient chisels and their ritual use. They hint at Snowfall Palace's resurrection method, which is believed to be tied to the events involving the Bai family from years past. A curious object seems to have played a crucial role in the process. Hidden in the furthest depths of the palace, a mine has been converted into a desecrated dungeon where slaves and prisoners are tortured and experiments conducted on red mercury and the chisel. Here is where all of Hill's Watch bridal candidates are taken. Test subjects against their will in research by a mad doctor at the madam's behest. Countless women were mutilated, reassembled, and twisted into grotesque monsters to fulfill the young lord's vile madness. For these poor souls, death was likely the only mercy. The monsters that lurk in these corridors are products of the chisel. Fleshy bags of human appendages hang from the ceilings. Abominations with only a hint of their past humanity strike at every corner. It's a madhouse of depravity. Wuchang meets up with He Yu Zai and hands over the gathered research notes.
Perhaps that chisel from your home can bring others back too. So, there are 4 of these objects? Or maybe it takes all 4 to complete the relic.
She also can find an imprisoned Commander Hong Lan and free her if she so chooses. The pair have now shared mutual indebtedness and respect for one another. After plummeting to the bottom of the shaft, Bai Wuchang sees what atrocity has become of the bride to Snowfall. Fang Ling was the daughter of a local merchant and was chosen not just as a bride, but as the vessel to produce what Huang Yan hoped to be the perfect woman for her son. Fang Ling helped her sister Fang Yao, whom we meet earlier, escape the dungeons, but she suffered torture and ultimately death. Her mutilated body was resurrected with the power of the chisel. Ancient avian glyphs were cut into her skin, and she's now a beast. A fraction of Fang Ling's spirit remains in this body until the second phase of the boss fight unleashes the monster's true self. Just as with Bai Crew those years ago, Fang Ling represents the danger of subverting nature's order, and also the risk of using any of the chisels without the remaining 4. After her death, the old storyteller, whom first appeared in a cave in Worship's Rise muttering about the past, shows himself and attempts to guide Wuchang along a righteous path. He also brings news that Zhenwu Temple is under siege by the southern general, Liu Wenshu. The mountain path from Cloudspire to Zhenwu is circuitous and fraught with danger. It's also riddled with history. Legend claims that here the White General Zhao Yun led heroes of the past against their non-human foes and vanquished them in a costly battle. Many tombs and skeletons stand as reminder of their sacrifice. But the dead are restless. Sage followers of the Nine Lotus use necromancy to revive the spirits of these fallen warriors, and they chant dirges within crypt caves. It's no coincidence that here Wuchang again finds the white-robed elder who speaks of such times as if he were there. This man is more than he seems. With the chisel he had obtained in victory millennia ago, the general has drastically increased his longevity. Many hints throughout the lore suggest the general and the white-robed elder are the same individual. Or perhaps that the elder is himself a spectral remnant of Zhao Yun's lingering obsession with the bow. Generations haven't extinguished his hatred toward the bow people, and he speaks of a new power of sorcery that gathers in the ancient forest near Zhenwu Temple.
For days I trailed the monster. It led me here, where illusions grow more frequent. I must be close to its nest. This here.
Following his trail leads Wuchang into the verdant maze where illusions send one astray and where winged shadows lurk. Those who fled from Zhenwu Temple into the forest were akin to sheep rushing into a tiger's den. People running from Liu Wenshu's rebels were heedless of the legends of the forest and were preyed upon. Their prisoners high in the trees, or else food for the bow. As mentioned, the forest is home to those transcendent bow people that survived the ancient battle against humans, and for centuries they subsisted meagerly off the land. They follow the guidance of the bow sorcerer, who dwells deep within the forest, and whom the white-robed elder wishes to slay. These avians appear emaciated and weak, cut off from the power of their old capital, and perhaps unwilling to connect once more with Red Mercury for fear of it consuming them. But they don't seem to be resurrected, as many of the avians found later in ancient Shu do. That the avians here fight against the bird-like feathering afflicted also suggests there's a difference between transcendent bow and those consumed by madness. The bow Magus travels here as well, perhaps attempting to rally more bow to her cause, or else eliminate her rival in the sorcerer. Driven by an unyielding desire to restore her people to their former glory, she spared no effort, no matter the cost. The Magus continues to gather her powers. Now I'd like to take a moment and offer another potential timeline regarding the bow Magus. Rather than having been a member of the Ascended in ancient Shu and assuming religious leadership in the wake of King Duriel's disappearance, it could be the Magus only recently became a contender for power. Perhaps her rebellion referenced in the lore was against the bow sorcerer for being weak. It could be that she only recently discovered the tomb of her ancestors beneath the earth. A descendant of survivors scrounging for scraps in the avian forest, the disillusioned Magus could have struck out with disciples to restore their ancient heritage, then have herself been a part of the past. There's nothing definitive to tell us, so it's up to interpretation. To me, the lore points to her being an influence in the ancient days, but let me know what you think in the comments. The bow sorcerer, unlike other avians and those suffering from feathering, is majestic, beautiful, and extremely powerful. She is a symbol of a bygone era, and represents perhaps what the avians once were at the height of their empire. She commands the same ability they claimed, altering the atmosphere to produce ice shards from the air. The sorcerer is fleet and dangerous, and in her confrontation, Wuchang can summon the aid of Zhao Yun, the white-robed general. As Wuchang approaches Zhenwu, the temple's utter devastation is on full display. Liu Wenshu, the southern general, camps outside its walls and allows his soldiers to wantonly plunder. They steal precious artifacts and gather scrolls of deep knowledge. In fact, Wenshu and his rebels' use of lightning-charged attacks is spellcraft learned from Zhenwu's Taoists. The greatest prize, however, is the Aurum ancient chisel held within the temple, the artifact with which Liu Wenshu seeks to resurrect his fallen father, Zhang Shanzong. We see a courtyard full of Lotus followers captured by the rebels and forced by the general to perform unending rituals to aid the resurrection. The heroic spirit of the sovereign shall return. The southern general commands, bearers of the Lotus lamps pray ceaselessly, day and night without respite. Wuchang must kill Liu Wenshu before she can hope to stop Shanzong's resurrection. Again, upon entering the courtyard, which flows with blood that seems to nourish a sea lily structure, we witness the tragedy that befalls those who unknowingly unleash a chisel's fractured might. The sovereign is resurrected, but not in the way any would imagine. A creature of anguish who suffers greatly, the sovereign's bloodlust in death is fivefold that he felt in life. Merged with the body of a fierce tiger, a symbol of royalty and power, but also, interestingly, a protector of the dead, the sovereign commands the storm. To put him back to rest earns Wuchang his chisel, and now 3 of the 4, or 5, are gathered. An opportunity next presents itself for Bai Wuchang to return to her childhood home. Alongside He Yuzai, Wuchang examines her family's estate, which brims with pinwheels, the symbolic motif of both Bai Kru and Bai Yu. Here, she learns the fate of both her father and her brother. Memories stir once more. Governor General Bai left his imperial seal alongside a letter explaining his actions in the ancestral shrine before confronting the monster that his son had become. The plain warrioress is here as well and says only this:
Brother,
Now, it's interesting, she mentions a sibling relationship with Bai Kru. She is the form of our inner demon, and no one else ever appears to see her. It becomes more and more apparent that the plain warrioress is actually Bai Wuchang, or at least a mental projection or manifested form of her. We fight this woman's likeness twice, first as the nightmare demon, and then later as the demon of obsession. The warrioress is Bai Wuchang's fear over the loss of Bai Yu, and her lingering obsession to reweave the threads of fate and resurrect her through the united ancient chisel. Whether Wuchang gives in to her obsessions or resists them factors into the game's endings. Wuchang proceeds to the moon-kissed pond where Bai Kru resides. Even as a monster, the child holds on to the memories he had in life and regards Wuchang closely before turning violent. During the fight, memories flood into Wuchang's mind, and we hear the circumstances of his birth and her mother's death.
Come back to life! Oh, so happy. He's much more capable than that tower.
This fight also confirms that the monster Wuchang first battled in the dream world was her brother, either within her mind or apart from time. Worship's rise has suffered in the past month, but what next unfolds is truly ruinous. The old storyteller brings Wuchang to the outskirts at Anilum. The storm-drenched town erupts with sea lily growth. Myriad tendrils wrap around everything, crushing structures and consuming bodies. This is the work of the Bow Magus.
That Metatrinus plant ought to only grow deep underground. Yet, the Bow Magus has made it bloom here. She's hiding in the underground palace beneath the Shu Sanctum. Confront her for me, and, should she still cling to her misguided path, kill her.
If Wuchang agrees to his wishes, the storyteller gifts her with a polygonal container as a means to counteract the Magus. Bestowed by the god of Shu to his most faithful, though it appears to be a weapon, its true purpose is to protect, to guard against the allure of the Bow Magus influence and thus be led astray. This description highlights the Magus's insidious aura, but also the hidden power of the old storyteller. Again, whether she agrees or denies his request has profound implications for the end of the game. As Wuchang progresses, an alien tribe of bizarre creatures hunt the humans of Worship's Rise and bow in reverence near monoliths that glow with the magic of ritual. They are the avians of ancient Shu, and they've returned at the Bow Magus's bidding to reclaim their divine authority. The massive god guards and dexterous avian hunters unleash bow might across the town, and we hear in the Sun Pendant. A tribe isolated from the outside world for eons appeared out of nowhere, and the ensuing flames of war left most of Worship's Rise in ruin. The Magus conducts a sacred ritual in the old Shu temple beneath the sanctum. Avians and feathered alike sit in rapture and face the glowing roots of a large lily tree. The exact nature of this ritual isn't certain, but the Bow Magus believes herself chosen by the primordial deity to enact his will and cleanse the world. Wuchang has an opportunity to either stop the Magus or supplant her. If she aids the storyteller, Bai Wuchang fights the Magus, who demonstrates mastery over magic and the power of Shu's ancient god. To defeat her ends the ritual and spares Worship's Rise, at least for the moment. While traversing ravaged Shu, Wuchang can find also, deep within Doomwillow, the fallen and mutated Commander Honglan. Yu Xia has been single-minded in her quest to restore the Ming dynasty with the resurrection of her husband, and Honglan has remained unquestioning in her loyalty to the queen consort. We hear in the echo of Honglan, to honor that woman's long-held wish and say goodbye to the smiling face in her memories, Honglan braved danger, risked her own life to gather relics and red mercury. Yet deep down, she knew those feelings would never be returned. Why Honglan suffers so much for Yu Xia goes beyond duty. She's infatuated with the consort. A slowly burning but unrequited love blinds her. The two fall victim to the Taoist Zhuangyang Zi's manipulations. His secret alchemical pursuits with Red Mercury draw him nearer to his ascension, but the puzzle's final key are the bow chisels, and the Taoist learns Yu Xie possesses one. Xuanyangzi claims that by using the vermilion chisel on the Chongzhen Emperor's body, he can be brought back. It would seem Hong Lan was suspicious of the ritual and wished to test it first on herself, a plan Yu Xie knew nothing about. Later, in the fight against a transcendent Xuanyangzi, he mentions using the commander as a pawn. This is why her boss title is Vermilion Feathers, as she used the vermilion chisel. The ritual failed, and she was transformed, though Hong Lan retains most of her true self. Finally, Wuchang returns to the reverent temple, and behind, in the cave she first awoke, the ritual to restore Zhu Yujian of the Ming nears its completion. The emperor has been brought back as the returned, a draconic beast filled with fury. It's only in the second phase of the fight that the spiritual essence of the emperor manifests. Here we see his body in embryo within the creature's form.
But while an empire can perish, you can never erase its honor. I too forged realm, who held fast. I shall restore Ming.
Such words suggest the Chongzhen Emperor's failure weighs heavy on him. He represents the Ming's fall and desires nothing more than to rectify it. When defeated, his body's consumed in a magical explosion, just as Yu Xie comes to her husband alongside the Taoist. All present would have died if not for the intervention of the storyteller, who appears at the edge of vision and whose instrument transforms into the staff of legendary god Duriel, finally hinting at this man's true identity. The blast also uncovers the ancient capital of the Bo people, a necropolis that has lain dormant beneath worship's rise, unbeknownst to all, for over a millennium. Wuchang's story now turns from the events of current-day Shu and focuses on the follies of the ancient Bo, the truth of the avians in Red Mercury, and what Wuchang must do to break the cycle of causality. Bones litter walkways, skeletons of unknown creatures are woven seamlessly into the architecture, and mindless dead wallow. All give a chilling air to this city of the dead. Again, various inscriptions warn outsiders against the ways of the avian Bo, and illustrate the ritual devotion of those humans enslaved, one way or another, by the avian. Their corpses are reanimated to continue eternal worship, and we see them in various stages of feathered decay. Some are very much human, while others have bird-like beaks, and many corpses sport sea lily growths, further connecting the plant in Red Mercury to the ways of the Bo. The avians are themselves not immune to the dangers of the feathering. Throughout the caverns, we see them struggle against monstrous forms of their own people who've been consumed by the disease. In the deepest reaches of the capital, Wuchang crosses paths with the storyteller, who finally reveals himself as Duriel, once king of the ancient Shu, the ancestral god of Shu's descendants, and a member of the transcendent avians.
Me? Oh, I'm many things. A wandering bard, yes, but also Duriel, a deity worshipped in the shrines of Shu. I take on the forms I choose.
Though he's a shapeshifter, plumes of feathers on his arms and his head are hallmark of his lineage. Duriel represents a noble character who either through negligence or indifference allowed woe to consume the land. The lore description of the spells surrounding him suggests that Duriel truly was the primordial deity's chosen. He reigned before Red Mercury and the whispers of the Bo Magus corrupted his people. Duriel is symbolic of an idealized avian, and perhaps by claiming his birthright, he might restore them, or at the very least, free them from the prison of Red Mercury. And though Duriel abandoned his throne, he never completely abandoned his people. The Watcher's Gaze sword tells us, it's said to have once belonged to the avians of Duriel's bloodline, with a faint trace of the primordial deity's essence still clinging to its form. Its watchful eye bridges the known and unknown, and suggests Duriel kept vigil over the happenings of Shu. The Forbidden Land, the location of the Avians' altar, where they received the chisel and forged red mercury, lies sealed beyond space and time, but it's the nexus of cause and effect, of gods and mortals, of swirling energies that Wuchang must reach. Two sides of a golden avian seal are required to open the gate, and are guarded by avians struggling against feathered ones. Here too, Wuchang meets for the last time He Zai, who demonstrates the maddening symptoms of the feathering.
Who are you? Wuchang. Why does that name sound so familiar?
The man struggles with memory loss in several interactions as the game progresses, and it seems, at the cusp of understanding how he can save Bai Yu, he loses both resolve and sanity. As the story reaches its climax, He Zai's fate and the rest of Shu's all depend on Wuchang. With the gate unsealed, with the chisel fragments of the ancient artifact gathered, Wuchang enters the Forbidden Land. This realm is apart from time. An intricate weaving of magic ties the mortal realm directly to the cosmic heavens. The altar site where Ascendant Bo first communed with their deity. Several large eyes, symbol of the Bo people, stand above the waves. Many avians are bowed in reverence and adorned with glistening wings, perhaps a small demonstration of the power this tribe once wielded in their golden age. All that's left for Wuchang is step across the threshold and behold the universal power of the mighty. There are 4 different endings to Wuchang's story, each influenced by myriad decisions made across the lands of Shu. I plan on releasing a separate video explaining all 4 endings in depth, so what follows will be a brief summary of resolution, in no particular order. In 3 of the 4 endings, the Taoist Xuanyangzi stands before the gate of truth that connects the mortal world to celestial knowledge. Through the feathering and by imbibing alchemical elixirs, he has ascended. What stands before Wuchang is no longer a man, but a feathered monstrosity that's used its maddening influence to fuel his own divinity. He wields a forbidden blade, a tool of the Bieling that has been guarded in the Forbidden Lands for centuries. If Wuchang had agreed to Duriel's request, the god of Shu can be summoned to redeem himself and also to end Red Mercury's influence on the world. Xuanyangzi's wrath is significant, but Bai Wuchang embodies her namesake and ultimately destroys him. The first ending results if we had believed the Taoist's lies, if we supported his research with scrolls or information, and most significantly, if we gave him one of the ancient chisels. After his death, Xuanyangzi is reborn from the chisel's power, a form of immortality, you might argue, and he plunges his blade into Wuchang before she unites with the primordial deity. Cause is reversed, time is rewound, and Wuchang awakens in reverent temple at the start of the game. The past Wuchang comes down the stairs just as Xuanyangzi covers up this future Wuchang and prepares her distillation into one of his elixirs. Thus, the cycle continues. The second ending unravels if Wuchang is unable to renounce her inner demons, if she holds on to the obsession of resurrecting Bai Yu. She prefers the ephemeral safety of a dream, where she's reunited with her sister, than to let go and face painful reality. In Dream's sweet deceit, Wuchang enters the world of the dream through the gate of truth. In here, she awakens on a boat alongside He Zai and her sister Bai Yu. Feathering still appears on her arm, suggesting that this is merely illusion, but one in which Wuchang finds happiness. In the third ending, Wuchang again approaches the gate of the primordial, but rather than entering the dream, she unites with the realm of truth. She's relinquished her obsessions, given up on the dream of the chisels and the corrupting promise of Red Mercury. Again, Wuchang awakens on a boat, but this time alongside He Zai and Fang Yao, a new family forged by the trials faced in Shu. Wuchang is cleansed of the feathering, madness retreats from the land, and the woman leaves her past behind to forge a future. The fourth ending transpires deep beneath the Shu sanctum in the ritual site of the bow. After having dispatched the bow Magus, but without the protective spell given by Duriel, Wuchang succumbs to the allure of power. She falls for the whispers of the Magus. As she grasps the bow's staff, Wuchang becomes both a vessel for the woman's reincarnation and also the inheritor of the bow people. She transcends mortality and prepares a new golden age for the once fallen avian, a future stained red with blood and mercury. Thanks so much for watching and listening to this video on the complete story of Wuchang Fallen Feathers Explained. Let me know your thoughts on the bow people, the feathering, and ancient Shu, as well as characters or stories you'd like to learn more about in the comments below. And if you're a fan of lore and storytelling, be sure to subscribe to the channel, check out the podcast where content is uploaded frequently. I want to thank my amazing supporters over on Patreon who make all of this possible. I couldn't do it without their fantastic support. If you'd like to become a lore luminary for access to me, a great community, written scripts, and early video drops, head to patreon.com/thelorebrarians to learn more. Until next time, go forth and explore the lore.